Hello again. In our last session, we were talking about Pad Purvard Vakrat, that is lexical obligatory, and we discussed that it has certain sub-varieties which include obligatory of usage, of synonym, of transference, of adjective, of concealment, of indeclinable, gender, and verb. Today, we will start this session with briefly discussing these and then move further to another varieties of obligatives. But these words, which have different implications and associations, are known as synonyms, and their usage, it confers a certain property or certain association and gives a different shade of meaning. And this is what Kuntak says, that the writer should be aware of the different shades of meaning of the words and use them in a certain way so that the meaning is conveyed in its true spirit and sense. Then we have the obligatory of transparent, which deals with the introduction of human faculty in respect to inanimate objects, because in a vakrat, the word is used in a secondary sense. And he says the vakrat, when it is not stated or implied, and whenever it is far removed from each other, it is called as hyperbolic treatment, and it leads in charm and delight to the kavya. So this is to say, we know about the transferred epithet, we have read about it. So whenever an epithet or an adjective is transferred from the appropriate noun to modify or say something else, it is called as obligatory of transference. Then we have the obligatory of concealment, which operates when the subject is screened by something, and the excellence is achieved through expression. For example, when an extraordinary beautiful object is contemplated by the poet, and if there is a loss in beauty, the writer employs certain pronouns. And sometimes the words fail to express the natural beauty, and this is also known as concealment. Things are concealed behind an object. Then there is the obligatory of indeclinable, which is used in relation to compound words, or say suffixes sometimes, or secondary derivatives. He says that indeclinables dominate and heighten the expression. This is called as vritti vakrat. And compound word is an essential figure, because compound word is a very comprehensive thing to express a comprehensive subject. So he says that secondary derivatives, or say obligatory of indeclinable, it is formed out of new structures, participles, slangs, and which impart beauty to expression. Then we have the obligatory of gender, which occurs when a gender is employed in such a way that it enhances the beauty of expression. And it is also employed at various levels. When we have heterogeneous genders brought together, then we have the feminine gender, and also possible gender or ignoring one gender, etc. Then we have the obligatory of verb, which is the speciality of a verb, which is seen in the cohesion of the when the verb has a cohesion with the subject. And in relation to certain verbs, when we have adverbials or metaphors to convey the verb forms for direct objects when they are concealed, it gives a new expression to the poetry. Then we have pad prarad vakra, that is grammatical obligatory. And Kuntak says that writer is always guided by the consideration of, say, special tense, case, number, person, voice, prefix, suffix, participle, etc. Now, these various sources, when they are discussed by Kuntak in the treatment of Vakrat, and he says that this variety, it includes all the possibilities that grammatical constructions convey. Because and this is also very much similar to the treatment what was done by Anand Vardhan when he was talking about Dhwani. So this was a kind of a grammatical obligity. And he says, according to Kuntak, poetry attains excellence due to striking use of tense, striking use of numbers, striking use of case or voice, etc. For example, when we talk of the obligity of tense, it is based on the oblique transposition of cases. Uh, it is based on, say, for example, the tense. If there is an agreed condition, say for the historical present, in the past incidents which are happening or have happened, when they are contemplated in the first form of verb, they produce a charming effect and they enhance the beauty of the kavya. So a talented writer is very always conscious of the time and place, and it is said that a writer, good writer, he turns the remote in time and place, because the sense of past provides him an escape from the past and look for something uncommon and strange. The obliquity of case is based on the oblique transposition of cases when an ordinary case is employed by the writer as a main case or vice versa. That is, when the cases are transposed. The beauty of strikingness depends on this because transposition of case animates the subject symbolically and it functions poetically. Then we have the obligity of number, which also functions on the oblique transposition of numbers, because he says when the numbers are transposed, singular number is changed into plural number and vice versa. Sankhya Vakrat, it is also said as Sankhya Vakrat. This interchange of two opposite numbers, it imparts beauty and charm to the poetic expression. Then we have the obligity of voice, which is obviously it depends upon the two modes or voices, which is active and passive, because active mode expresses the action which depends upon the subject, while passive mode tells the action which depends upon some other reason or faculty. They play a very important role in the kavya according to Kuntak. And then we have the last subvariety, which is obligatory of particle. It is also concerned with the oblique use of particle. Although we know that a particle is an independent component and it does not have any bonding with the grammatical words or grammar, but a writer, when he uses this particle to denote some strong feeling of, say, joy, pathos, mystery, etc., it remains inactive in isolation. But whenever it combines or conjuncts with a word, it vibrates and give a certain beauty to the expression. Then we have Vakya Vakrat, the third subvariety, which is the sentential obligity. It's very clear from the name that it operates at the level of the Vakya, that is sentence. And it deals with Vastu, that is the subject matter, the contents. He says that Vastu is defined in many ways. We have Vastu, which is replete with beauty because it's an important part of composition. And Vastu also has two subvarieties. One is Sahaj and one is Aharya. Sahaj is natural, Aharya is imposed. So, on the basis of this division, he divides this subvariety into natural obligity and imposed obligity. He says whenever the content or the subject matter is described without heavy embellishment in a simple style, it is called as Sahaj Vakrat. It's very naturally conveyed. Now, this is the natural power of contemplation of the writer. And we have, say, for example, if we are describing something and the virtue of that simple description adds a natural charm to it, and this can be done by a very talented poet who takes the vastu as the subject matter and makes it more alluring. This is called as Sahaj Vakrat. Then we have vastu or subject matter which is imposed. When we say that things which are standing in relation to some personal interest and they connotate something else, and the object has no connection with anybody's interest, it is called as imposed Vakrat. And sometimes these varieties are also defined by or described by certain critics and acharyas as alamkara. They say that sentential obliquity is nothing else than alamkara, which is produced out of figures of speech, because the sensitive readers, or Sahridaya as defined by Bharata in the Natya Shastra, he says that whenever we do this, whenever we write something or produce a painting, the alamkara is different from the subject matter. And it's not simply a figure of speech, but it is the ordinary nature of things which are treated in a certain different way. So, although Kuntak also has given a description of these possible alankaras in relation to the kavya, and he says that metaphors or alamkara are embellishments which describe a kavya. Because when he was talking about the imposed obligacy, this is also considered to be a figure, as if art is different from, because it transforms the subject matter and described in certain different ways. So writer is not introducing any kind of strangeness, but imposing something, and obliquity is produced because it becomes effective by certain pleasant surprises or certain brilliance of style by the writer on his part when he talks about this kind of obliquity. Kuntak actually further describes Vakrat based on the subject matter also. It was regarding the content, and regarding the subject matter, he says that it is animate and inanimate. Animate, further, he says that it can be primary and secondary, because when he talks of the primary animate things, it includes devils, deities, superhuman beings, and men also. But while the secondary subject matter only includes birds, animals, and beasts. So he says that as far as the subject matter is concerned, the natural objects, the objects of nature, that is water, trees, and flowers, etc., they are also included into it. Kuntak maintains a certain kind of, say, hierarchy in the selection of this subject matter, because he places deities, devils, and superhuman beings and men above these inanimate things. And like all other animate objects, Kuntak says that an inanimate objects also, they lend a charm to the kavya, and it also stimulates rasa, and the nature which has dominated subject and rasa dominated subjects. He also describes this in relation to the theory of karma, dharma, salvation, etc. Now we are left with few more varieties of Vakrokti, which we will be taking up in our next session.